When I look out my window, many sights to see. When I look in my window, so many different people to be, that it's strange, so strange. You got to pick up every stitch. You got to pick up every stitch. You got to pick up every stitch. Must be the season of the witch. Must be the season of the witch. Oh, must be the season of the witch.
Can you help me start this podcast, please? It feels as if all my energy was spent in the last weekend doing something else entirely. Oh wait, it's because I did!
Yes, I do remember you were doing a film festival.
This is the most natural and organic segue ever constructed on podcast, on radio waves, I would say. Wouldn't you agree?
About as natural as me pushing the podcast off a cliff, but yes.
I mean, yes, I suppose so. I might have talked about this before. No, wait, what am I saying? I have definitely talked about this before in another podcast series, the now seemingly defunct Team Yume podcast, which was a whole other format and a whole other bunch of shenanigans and hijinks that took different shapes from time to time. In its last incarnation, it was mostly a video podcast with me and Taylor Wyatt, aka Y-Boy, of Toon Green, doing a sort of face reveal Discord app chat. But anyway, that's ancient history. But that's where I might have talked about the AS Film Festival or Asperger Film Festival. Actually, I'm not sure. I'm not going to go back and check, so let's assume I did and move on with our lives.
Yes, it's a film festival.
Yes, it's a film festival in which I have been working since 2014. That's a bunch of years ago, I realized just now. It's going to celebrate its 10th edition next year, in fact. Which means I have been on this festival since its 2nd edition.
9 years, huh?
It's 8 years for me, but yes. That's a long time to devote myself on one thing. That's very consistent of me. Oh, and by the way, I guess I can add to my biography, professional interviewer as of last weekend. That's mostly what I did. I was very eloquently and very professionally interviewing people who participated at the festival in some form or the next.
Right.
But let us not forget what my main raison d'être... Let me say that. My raison d'être, my principal reason to exist, if you will, in the context of this festival, was to curate the animation section.
And how did that go for you?
Well, it brought me to this segue, so it went well. So let's talk about animation. I want to chat and have a little conversation about celebrating animation as an art form, because in case you have all collectively forgotten between all the political talks and video game talks and everything in between, I originally am an animation scholar. I say that without a hint of irony, by the way. I'm not going to talk about the animations showcased at the festival. I'm not sure if I am legally allowed to do so, but what I am going to do is talk about another animation that has been circulating quite circulatoringly, quite vividly and movingly on the internet since about a couple of months ago, I would say. It has exploded in popularity in ways no one could have possibly foreseen and became its own multi-layered, multifaceted, quite deep rabbit hole of a meme that I am going to explore right about now.
Is it the one I'm thinking of? Is it the one with a particular Animal Crossing character?
I was going to build towards the revelation, but yes, that's it. I think it's about time we have a frank and proper discussion about this meme, its origins, and
yeah, I know where it is going.
and the many interesting key components that combined together form the interesting story of the Ankha dance, in quotation marks. Yes, we are definitely going to get to that song because I have heck of a lot to say about that song and the original artist. But we should go into this new venture, this new talkative venture of ours, in the proper order. If you're a casual peruser of the internet, you might have stumbled upon a certain very simple Flash animation, although saying Flash is a bit outdated. The Flash style of animation that uses rigged models that modern programs can do, and Adobe Flash as a program has died a long time ago. We've come a long way in the technology, etc., etc., but going back to the point, you might have seen or heard a certain song, and you might have heard or seen that song in the context of a certain character from Animal Crossing, the Egyptian-themed cartoon cat Ankha.
Yep.
I'm surprised that nobody called her Cleopatra. But yes, Ankha is a long-standing character in the Animal Crossing franchise by Nintendo, which is notoriously family-friendly, played by children. In fairness, mostly depressed adults, but also children.
Yeah.
You must be wondering, what's up with this cat? And what's up with this song associated with the cat? Why is it suddenly a meme? Why do I see this short animated GIF of a cat moving her hips back and forth to the tune of a song that's actually not this song that you've heard was associated with this character? Let me tell you a story. Hold on.
How your life got turned upside down?
I'm just going to get in character, and here's my top hat. Here's my cane. It is I, Astolfo, the greatest storyteller of all time, and I'm here to regale you with a tale as old as time, as old as the internet, as old as your hormonal cravings, my young lads. I'm going to ditch the accent. Now, picture yourself 15 years ago, just about. You are alone at night, and you have a computer, and you have internet access. And you're feeling a bit frisky.
One of those nights.
So you look up porn, as you do.
Yep, just for the good times.
You just boot up your computer, your Windows XP, no doubt, and you go to your bandwidth and wait 14 hours for the pages to load up. You're not going to use your regular browser, you're just going to go incognito. Or not, it depends whether or not you thought of doing that. When you look up the pornography you so desire, you realize that you're not in the mood for something specific. You are just, shall we say, browsing the merchandise. Looking for something that might tickle your fancy tonight. You're not too snobby about it, but you're also very picky at the same time. As all people who masturbate are, I'm sure.
Of course, that's the whole point of preferences, isn't it?
Okay, so you're not looking for anything in particular, you're just browsing. That's the point. So you click on a video that you might find interesting. But then you make your first mistake. You look at the suggestions under that video you clicked. So you click on another video in those suggestions. And then you look at the suggestions from the video that you clicked from the previous suggestions. And this goes on for a while. After a time of doing this, you find yourself deep enough into that hole that you witness some things that initially you might have wished you didn't witness. You wished you could unsee them. And yet, much like traffic accidents, you cannot stop but looking at whatever it is you found. You are entranced, enthralled.
It's an experience you'll never forget, even though you regret it later.
Or will you regret it later? Wink, wink.
I mean, yeah, we'll have to wait and see about that. But
how many people's sexualities and kinks and preferences of that particular kind were influenced by the discovery of the internet? For better and for worse, definitely. This is not to judge anyone. This is just something that might happen to you. And it's definitely something that happened to me when I discovered for the first time a certain semi-obscure but also very popular in some circles animator by the name of Zone. All capital letters, Zone, whom is also known as Zone Sama or Zone Tan, depending on who you're asking. Now, Zone, this animator, has been in the business of making animated parodies, let's call them like that.
with all of the quotation marks.
Yes, animated spoofs of popular cartoon characters. Animated spoofs and also minigames. They produced such classics as and also and who could ever forget you get the idea.
Yes, I do.
Considering the time these animations were coming out, this person used to produce material pretty much above their cut, considering the standards of animated pornography. They were working with Adobe Flash, like a lot of indie animators at the time, and they were producing relatively high-quality material, again, for being porn spoofs, essentially. And they have definitely come a long way, because their latest work, or at least I'm assuming it's their latest work, may be their most popular and successful one yet. It is one of those rare instances where something as niche as pornography has a mainstream explosion in popularity.
It's pretty much typical of memes of this caliber, where basically something basically transcends its own niche genre to basically be memed.
But that's something that never really happens to pornography, especially one so blatant in its pornography.
Yeah.
So this is where the story gets a little bit confusing, because there is in fact a safe for work version. The animation that we are so coyly referring to is in fact known as the quote-unquote Ankha dance. And of course the dance is just Ankha herself, the anthropomorphic cartoon cat from Animal Crossing, very much having far out and weirdly high concept sex with the human character from Animal Crossing, to the beat of a very good song from the 80s. Already by saying all of these words, your mind might have opened up to several possibilities, all of which lead to panic, I would assume. Like I said, it is very rare for pornography to get so popular on the internet. Its popularity becomes surprisingly beneficial for the song that was used on it.
Yeah.
I found this song on Spotify, and the cover they used for Spotify is a picture of Ankha. Which blows my mind, especially when I'm going to contextualize where and when it comes from, because that's a whole rabbit hole in its own right. That's its own branch of the conspiracy board, if you will. Now, what really helped the popularization of the Ankha dance meme was the existence of a very SFW version of it, which is not really an SFW version so much as it is a completely different entity altogether. It's just basically a animated GIF of Ankha doing her hip dance to the tune of a completely different song. So, by all intents and purposes, this should have been the version that really gets popular. And it did in a way, yet at the same time, it's the song from the original quote-unquote dance, so many quotation marks, that gets to be popular and not the song used in the SFW dance that you can see on TikTok and on YouTube. I'm not sure how this all came to be. The only possible explanation is that everyone has become aware and in the know about the real Ankha dance. And everyone is fine with it.
I'm going to tell you this. When I saw the meme get popularized, I basically saw it on my sweetheart, my fiance's YouTube recommendations because she loves animation memes. And it exploded in popularity from animation memes that are done daily by typical animators. Jaeger, you have also, let's see, who else was there? I know there's a couple of others, but I forget their names because there's so many of them. But they're very popular animation meme artists who are of the furry community, so to speak. So to see so many of them do the Ankha dance animation meme. Oh yeah, Wolfie Chew's another one. She's very popular on YouTube as well.
I am actually aware of the trend of the animation meme dance that goes on YouTube. I could see how Ankha could have fit right into there.
Yeah, that's one aspect to look at it, that basically the furry community of the animation variety of artists basically probably saw the safe work version and also then saw the original and basically went like, hey, this music slaps, we're going to use the music anyway.
Yes, there are versions of YouTube in which they have taken the normal safe for work dance and added the Camel by Camel song, even though the normal safe for work version used a different song. And I don't even remember what that song was, which seems very unfair to whomever composed that song, but that's not the song everybody wants to hear, because in fairness, to be completely and utterly fair, Camel by Camel, you could say it's a banger.
Yeah, it slaps.
Oh yes, I am so the first person to ever make that joke. Several elements that come together just at the right time and at the right place. The animation meme scene meets the furry scene, meets the pornography scene, meets the animated pornography scene, meets people who like 80s music. Lightning in a bottle combination of events that made this one particular phenomenon blow up really in popularity in ways that, frankly, still surprise me and refreshes me at the same time because it is so nice to
The
see.
unpredictability of the internet.
It seems so nice to be reminded that you cannot stop people from being horny, and you cannot stop porn artists, in spite of the internet becoming more and more commodified by greedy corporations who seem to be hell-bent on purging all pornography from it for the sake of a safe, clean, advertiser-friendly net that would exist entirely for their benefit. This constant gatekeeping of porn artists as well as sex workers and everyone and everything in between. It started with Tumblr. It almost came through with OnlyFans until they realized it was stupid, and it will continue to do so. So it is extremely important that the Ankha dance exists and brings good business too, in spite of everything that it had going against it.
Yeah.
So I deeply respect this parody animation of a cat banging a human. And you know what? We've been beating around the bush far enough. I would like to actually talk about the animation itself, because it's actually quite good. Yes,
Yeah.
I might have seen it once or twice or 20 times. I can tell you, it's actually quite good. Not just by the standards of pornography, but very much by the standards of animation in general. As we said before, Zone began their career with Adobe Flash, and definitely their craft has come a long way in terms of quality and mastery of it. The rigged modeling in this animation is fluid.
Very smooth, I will say.
The transitions, the sexy transitions, and the camera work really give this otherwise pretty regular dom sex scene a gravitas and a emphasis that you would not get from live-action pornography.
I mean, yes.
You think I'm being facetious, but no, I'm being completely sincere. It's a good work of animation in pretty much every conceivable angle. The color palette and the lighting is sublime, especially when Ankha transports the villager into another dimension in the far-out reaches of space as she is sucking his dick.
Yes. I will also say that it's very appealing, that's for sure, to look at as well for an animation.
You could watch it for the main reason why you would want to watch it, but you could also watch it to appreciate the craftsmanship. Powerful and empowering sex scene for Ankha as she dances, quote-unquote, to the beat of Camel by Camel by Sandy Martin. And of course, following that example, Ankha goes harder and harder as the song goes on. And then it reaches a point in which the cartoon simply loops back to the beginning, and it continues for a couple more sessions. At that point, you've watched everything.
It is a loop that he can never escape, the villager. He is trapped.
You know, this would be existentially terrifying if it wasn't, well, what it was. Okay, but actually, so far I have essentially summarized an amount of information that you might have already known listening to this podcast. But this is where I get to the parts of this story, of this iceberg, if you will, that are well deep beneath the sea. The Ankha dance by Zone wasn't even the original Ankha dance.
Really, no.
This Ankha dance was actually meant as a homage to a similar animation by -8. And that...
-8.
-8, which is another animator, much like Zone, that makes very dynamic, Flash-style animated porn parodies.
Who here remembers Inky, Blinky, Pinky, and Clyde?
I don't remember that, but I sure as all get out know about... I don't think I need to explain that. Right, okay. Funnily enough, I've seen -8's animation before I even laid my eyes on Zone's Ankha dance. I've seen the original by -8. It's fine, but it doesn't quite measure up to the absurd quality in display for Zone's Ankha dance. It doesn't surprise me that that's the one who became popular, even though it's not technically the original idea. But credit must go where credit is due. -8 was the originator of the Ankha dance. And it's a bit sad that their work is getting pretty much overshadowed by a tribute, essentially. Imagine if Tolkien's Lord of the Rings was being overshadowed by that parody book written in the 70s.
You actually don't need to imagine it at all, because the Witcher series actually went through the very same thing you're describing, because before the video games ever came out, the author of said book series, of the Witcher series, basically got very grouchy and annoyed that his original work, which was the originator of the Witcher series, was basically considered based on the video games and not the other way around.
Oh, that's terrible.
Yeah. He, like I said, he's a bit of a grouch though, so it's kind of.
I would be grouchy too.
I mean, yeah, it's just that old man grouchy here. I mean, obviously deserve more money.
Bigoted transphobe J.K. Rowling gets to make so much money with her book series, which, by the way, is a bit of a rip-off of another fantasy series starring a guy named Larry Potter. Then so does the author of the Witcher series. What's fair is fair.
Yeah. So it's just an example, by the way, of that sort of scenario happening where basically the originator will get annoyed that a tribute / different interpretation gets considered as the big main thing rather than the actual thing.
I wonder if there's some juicy drama between -8 and Zone going on at this moment. Not that I would know, honestly.
As far as I can see, -8 has his own troubles with YouTube censorship and people basically, basically complain to him. So I think he has bigger fish to fry than...
I would assume that's the recurring narrative with all not safe for work artists and animators out there.
Pretty much.
The fact that they chose this profession does not mean they deserve less. There is definitely a market for it. There are definitely people who are into it, otherwise they would not be as prolific as they have been.
Yes, exactly.
Regardless, the Ankha dance by Zone is the popular one. And how popular is it, you might ask? Like I said, the song Camel by Camel is on Spotify with Ankha's picture slapped on it. YouTube videos of that song have gathered millions of views versus the mere hundreds of views they used to have before this meme exploded in popularity. And then you also have song artists on YouTube doing covers of Camel by Camel, while also leaning heavily on the fact that this song is associated with Pornography Cat. And on that note, I'm sure you've seen the metal cover of it done by Little V Mills.
Yes, I was about to mention him, actually. It's actually a very decent cover.
That song is really good, regardless of what you do with it, but the metal version is nice too.
V Mills, by the way, for those who do not know, he is a heavy metal cover artist. He does his own original work as well, though he's also, whenever something has gotten meme status, he has jumped on it to make a metal version of it.
That's what they all do. That's what they all have to do in order to please the almighty algorithm and get some business.
First time I heard V Mills was when he actually did a cover of a meme called She's Got That.
He's not a stranger to this sort of meme songs. He did actually a metal song dedicated to hentai. So this man knows what he wants and he knows what he's talking about.
And he also knows how to compose his own version of said
Yes.
songs.
And on the subject of his original material, and this has to be noted, he composed the song Battle Cry, which is the ring entrance song used by former AEW World Champion Kenny Omega.
Nice.
So essentially, Kenny Omega, and by extension the entirety of All Elite Wrestling, are associated, although indirectly, to a furry porn animation about an Egyptian cat.
Rabbit holes, they are all fun and games until,
And this
until
just
you get
puts
too far.
a big old smile on my face. I love it. And finally, it is time to address the origins of the song itself. The song that everybody is dancing to these days, me included. This absolute, unquestionable banger that is Camel by artist Sandy Martin. And who is this Sandy Martin, you might be asking?
Yeah.
I looked up a bit of information about him. Camel by Camel was released in 1985, about 36 years back in the past. But that song was never really popular back in his day.
It says a lot when I never heard of it.
The reason why you have never heard about Sandy Martin is because he was never really popular outside of a very specific region of the world, and that region of the world was Italy. Apparently, he was very big in Italy in the 1980s, way before my time.
Wow, okay.
According to his Wikipedia page, which, of course, it's in Italian, Sandy Martin is the pseudonym for Alexander Marton. He was born in Zagabria on October the 4th, 1959. He is from Croatia. He is a Croatian singer.
Huh.
He was discovered in Italy by talent scout Claudio Cecchetto, and he was considered part of the then Italian disco movement, because Italy is notoriously very behind the times, so our own version of disco was very much still popular in the 80s. His big hit back then was the song People from Ibiza. Okay, so he made dance music, which makes sense. If you listen to Camel by Camel, it's a very energetic mixture of electronica and Egyptian-themed instrumentation. I've listened to People from Ibiza. Well, it's a nice song, but it doesn't quite have the same dynamic energy that's conveyed by Camel by Camel. Yet, this was the song that made him a big name in Italy in the 1980s. Many of his songs were used for both commercials and also for intros for TV programs.
Makes sense.
His first album was named Modern Lover, which reached the 7th place in the Italian charts. Like I said, he was very popular in this particular region. He mostly retired from music in 1989. He had a brief and short-lived comeback in the 1990s with his second album, Érase una vez.
Yeah.
Now let's see, he had a bit of a TV presence in the 2000s. That's about all the relevant information for our podcast. He is still alive today, and he lives in the Isle of Ibiza, because where else would he live, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I suppose that's about it. I am looking forward for every music reviewer and critic on YouTube to do a video about Camel by Camel now that it's exploded in popularity and reached far more people across the globe than his biggest hit in his heyday, People from Ibiza, could ever hope to achieve. And he has to owe all that to a dancing cat.
I have to wonder what he thinks about his song blowing up in popularity.
I would love to hear an interview of him. I would love to hear his thoughts about it. I would love to see an interview of this man. Like we said many times, Camel by Camel is a phenomenal song to listen to dance to, and to hum to. An hypnotic beat, a solid instrumentation, and I am personally glad that, although by unconventional means, it managed to reach the ears of so many people, including myself. I cannot stop humming this song. Yes, just today I dined with my mother and my sisters. I had them listen to this song and I decided to bust some move on the spot.
I bet you they were enthralled by your dance.
They were, and they also liked the song quite a lot.
When my fiancée was playing the song, at one point, I actually stood right behind her and did the dance, hoping she would turn around to see me doing it to her. And it took her a few minutes before she realised what I was doing, because she knew I was behind her and she wondered what I was doing, and then she laughed.
Yes, this song brings people together in laughter.
I did everything. I even did the look down upon her like Ankha would.
Oh, right. The Ankha dance. The natural, organic conclusion of all the funny cat memes. Okay, so once again, respect your porn artists and animators, because their craft is about as good as anyone else's. It's just that they use it for a very specific niche genre that can only be enjoyed by a few. I would say that Zone's body of work is up there in the top tier of porn animators, along with the works of Tabule. I'm not going to expand on Tabule. Let's move on.
Okie dokie then.
That's a topic for another podcast, okay? I think I have given back to the community enough for tonight.
I think we've done enough there. Oh, yeah.
Thanks, Zone-sama. And also thanks, Sandy Martin. This song rules, and this animation is very good. And they go together like butter and toast.
Because what else are you going to put on toast?
Come.